Boker Or, Bekiim Bahalacha, day 40. We are on Halacha Kaf Hey. So we are talking about now the Lamnaseah Binginot, if you remember, on the Tzurat Menorah. And it says over there like this: whenever reading this Mizmor in the form of a menorah, whether it's going to be on paper or parchment, the image should be held vertically, just like the menorah stood upright in the Hechal. The image should not be left in a horizontal position on the table in front of the person reading it. So you understood that means it should be actually going to be vertically, exactly like upwards. Okay, that's the way that should be. So it should be vertically, just like the menorah, upright, and not horizontal. Okay, which is basically on the table. So even if it's going to be like this on the table, don't leave it on the table. Pick it up like the menorah. The menorah is always standing. The menorah was not lying down. So you pick it up. So that's why, by the way, we have it here in both of them. We have on the left side of the synagogue, in the Bet Knesset, we have it on the light. I don't know if you ever realize that I always look at the light, right? So that in that light, you have the form of the menorah of Lamnaseah, and you have it on the right, or on the right, okay, right side. Depends where you're standing, but for me, right now, it's on the right side. Where you have the Pitum Ketoret, the same thing. You have the big Lamnaseah. But again, it's standing up, so it's perfect. Because when you're saying it, it should be done vertically, not...
You have to read from the menorah, or you have to read
the menorah, that's the best. That's what we learned last time, yes. So he says that's brought down in the Od Yosef Chai. Next halacha, that Rav Chida wrote that if we desire to please our Creator, we should recite this Mizmor, concentrating the word's meaning, and while reading it from an image of the words in the form of a menorah, written on parchment. So technically, it's better to do it on parchment. Note that according to Maran Rishon LeZion, a Sephardic scribe should not inscribe a parchment in this manner, as explained in Yalkut Yosef, number 141. So let's see number 141. Maran Rishon LeZion discussed the common practice of having the passage describing the Ketorah written on parchment. He concluded that according to the Shulchan Aruch, it is forbidden to write Pesukim except when writing it on an entire scroll.
Wow.
As Sephardi Jews, we are obligated to follow the psak of the Shulchan Aruch and avoid producing such scrolls, right, as described over here. Instead, one should engage an Ashkenazic scribe to write them. Regarding the Ketoret, the response of Tfilah Moshe ruled that the passage may be written since it is accompanied by the interpretation of those verses. This would not apply to the writing Lamnaseah Binginot, which is basically without an interpretation. Ashkenazic Jews rely upon the opinion of the Ri, which is the Rif, which is Rabbi Yitzchak el-Fasi, that he permitted writing single verses on passages. The Halachah Brura concurred with these instructions as well. Okay, it remains a mystery why Rav Chida ignored this issue and recommended writing the passage by itself. Meaning, when you're doing it like with the Pitum Ketoret, so we have it. Right, even though I don't know why he doesn't bring it down. I guess he'll bring it down over there. But we did actually bring down that the Shitat of Ovadia was that when you're doing the Pitum Ketoret, you could do it, but you have to split it up. And that's why if you look at the one that we did over there, it's like Rav Ovadia. What does that mean? If you look at a regular Pitum Ketoret, it's all straight, right? The way that the Rav Ovadia has it is he goes downwards, meaning the majority of people that go like this. Right, horizontal, right, like different, like the sign, like a book. Here, no, he goes downwards and then downwards and then downwards, 3 different columns, and there's always very, very little amount of words. It's not going to be a lot of words, because if it's a lot of words, it's already going to be a problem. So again, that's the way that they do it, and that's if you look at that one, pay attention, you're going to see it. Okay. Using a mental image. If someone does not have the image of Lamnaseah written in the form of menorah, it is sufficient for him to picture it in his mind as he reads the words. So technically, you just think about it in his mind. He doesn't have to do anything else, right? Imagine, he doesn't have it. So just do it in your mind, no problem. On weekdays, we recite the Mizmor of Lamnaseah Binginot and not Mizmor HaShamayim Misaperim, because that's the one that you do on Shabbat and Yom Tov. Okay? Let's just do the footnote before, because if not, we're going to forget. The Bet Yosef says our custom is to recite Baruch She'amar after Shemelech and the Mizmor of HaShamayim Misaperim. It appears from the Orchot Chaim in the Zohar HaKadosh that the Mizmor of HaShamayim Misaprim is not recited on Shabbat, but the common custom is to recite it. Rav Chida cited, right, the scholars of Smyrna, right, giving specific instructions not to recite it on the weekdays, but to recite the Mizmor Lamnaseah. We know this has become the common custom of today. So nowadays, that's what we do. Okay? Let's continue. So we do not recite the Mizmor Lamnaseah. We note instead we recite the HaShamayim Misaprim. According to the Kabbalah, it's very important to recite this Mizmor on those days. Okay, so let's see the footnote 143. Okay, the Od Yosef Chai cited the great Kabbalah masters, noting that the Mizmor HaShamayim Misaprim includes a set of 6 phrases in verses 8, 9, and 10. Each phrase contains 5 words, and the second word is the name of Hashem. It is recommended to count one's 5 fingers as one recites each phrase, holding the fingers in a horizontal position. And when reciting God's names, point the index finger upward and mediate on the concept of subduing and overcoming one's enemies, both in the physical and spiritual realms. This is what David HaMelech was referring to when he says, "He who teaches my hands to make battle and my fingers to wage war." Right? So let's just take this, just understand. So this is that's what we actually say on LeDavid Baruch Hashem Suri Hamlamed Yadai Lakrav It's Beotai Lamilchama. We sing every Motzei Shabbat. LeDavid Baruch Hashem Suri Hamlamed, the one that's teaching my hands to do battle and my fingers to do war. What is that? So that's referring to that. So what does that mean? If you look at the Shemaim Misaprim Kivodel, right? He comes and he says, this is going to be chapter 19. He comes and he says like this. He says, verses 8, 9, and 10. So you have it. Torat Hashem to be man of Shiva Nafesh. There's a Pikudei Hashem Yesharim Yisrael. Yirat Hashem Torah to Mendelad. Right? So he comes and he says like this. He comes and he says in 8, 9, 10, you have, right? Each phrase is 5 words. So Torat Hashem to be man of Shiva Nafesh is one phrase, even though it's the same pasuk. Edut Hashem ne'emana machim hapeti is the second phrase. Again, it's the same pasuk. That's why it says 3 psukim, 8, 9, and 10, and there's 5 phrases. So therefore, the first one, it was the atnach. You remember we spoke about the atnach last time when you had the fork, the bottom fork that splits it up to make it like another pasuk. Okay? This Tom, Richard, that little fork on the bottom, that splits it up to make it like a new pasuk. Okay, so therefore, Torat Hashem Timma Shiva Nafesh is one phrase. Remember, the second word is always Hashem. So Torat Hashem Timma Shiva Nafesh. Next one, Edut Hashem Ne'emana Machim Hapeti. Each one is 5 words. Next pasuk, Pikudei Hashem. The second word is going to be Hashem. Pikudei Hashem Yishar Misamech Elev. And then again, Mitzvat Hashem Bara B'Netanayim. And the last one is Yirat Hashem Torah Omed El Ahad. Okay, so those are going to be the 5. So those 5, that's what he's saying here, you should actually count, right, with the name, with your fingers. And every single time that you're mentioning Hashem, you put up your index finger horizontally upwards and you mediate about the concept of subduing and overcoming one's enemies. And that's the explanation we just said here. Okay? This idea is expanded in the Menish Chai, citing commentary of the Eretz Chaim on Tehillim. If someone encounters wicked people who wish to inflict harm upon him, he should recite these phrases using his fingers. And each phrase begins with a thumb, so that Hashem's name corresponds to the index finger. You understand? That means you're going to start Pikudei Hashem. You're always doing it, and again, it's always upright. So Pikudei Hashem, Yesharim Misamech Elev. Now, when you're doing Hashem, every single time the Hashem, you're always starting from the thumb. So Hashem is always going to be the index finger, and therefore you're always going to have it that way. So he says the Ben Ish Chai added that King David's shield fashioned with 6 points. Right, that was the concept of the Magen David. It was 6 points to correspond to the 6 names of Hashem included in these phrases. Okay, so he says this is the meaning of the pasuk. David, right? David b'chol deracham maskil v'Hashem imo, and Hashem was always with him. What does that mean? We say this in Havdalah, right? We say v'hi David b'chol deracham maskil v'Adonai imo ken yeimanu tamid, right? Or ken yeimanu, some people have, right? So he says he uses index finger to signify the God that was with him. This is the Torah's promise when it says when you go out to battle your enemies and God delivers them into your hand, meaning that you will be victorious through the symbolism displayed with your hand. This likewise explains the pasuk also, right? All the nations of the world will see that Hashem's name, right? The Goyim will come and see that Hashem is Nikra Alecha, they will fear you. Meaning that when Jewish people expresses Hashem's name in the manner described here, they will cover in fear. They will they were coward. They're just going to become cowardice. Yeah? Fine. Here, clear? Okay, so we do Lamnaseah. Then we continue with the set of Mizmorim printed in the prayer book, concluding with Mizmor 130, which is called Halel Gadol. So that's obviously on Shabbat. Right? Then on Shabbat, we come and we do different, Tehillims, and then we do the Halel Gadol, which is the Kuf Lamed, right? Number 140. Oh, that's a mistake. It says 136. Okay, footnote number 144. These are the instructions of Shara Kavanot. It is apparent from the wording that the custom right, to recite these Tehillim on Shabbat preceded the Arizal HaKadosh. And in fact, it is found in the prayer book published in Naples in the year 1490. And in the Pri Etz Chaim, Rav Chaim Vital explained that because of each of the Psalms. On a simpler level, these Psukim, right, these different Tehillim are the virtues of Shabbat, the creation of the Torah. The Torah was given in Har Sinai on Shabbat, as we are taught in the Gemara on Shabbat. Our custom is to recite the Psalms in the order that they appear in the book of Tehillim. So you do 19, 33, 34, 90, 91, 98, 121, 122, 123, 124, 135, and 136. So again, Halel Gadol is 136. So here it didn't make it correctly that it's 136. Okay, so it's fine. Right, then it says, all these Mizmorim have enormous significance according to the Kabbalah, and therefore one should take great care to recite each word correctly. This is especially so regarding the Mizmor of Ranenu and the Mizmor of Beshanoto Lifnei, right? The Shanoto Lifnei Avimelech. Okay, so it says, even if one word is mispronounced, it is a terrible loss. 140. Sorry, so let's try the next one. The Davi Beshanoto Tamod, bottom 122. The audio Simchai noted that each pasuk of this Mizmor begins with a different letter of the Aleph Bet, right? That's L'Davi B'Shanoto. Yeah, pay attention. You take the L'Davi B'Shanoto. 34. Okay, everyone has it? 34. Lamed Aleph. So it says L'Davi B'Shanoto. Avarecha, Aleph. Ba'Hashem Titalel, Bet. Gadelu L'Hashem Iti, Gimel. Darashti, Dalet. You continue going through the Aleph Bet. So he comes and he says the Psukim follow the order of the Aleph Bet, but there are no verse beginning with the letter Vav. David Melech composed this Mizmor when he escaped the clutches of Philistine king Achish. So he says over here, who tried to kill him. The simple meaning of the Mizmor is King David is avoiding being killed by B'Shanatot Tomo. If you remember, he became like a crazy guy, you remember? And then he said, nah, this can't be the king. He's a lunatic. He's a crazy guy. This isn't the king. So he posed as a deranged, mentally challenged and imbecile, right? As described in Shemuel, he acted as if he was totally out of touch with reality and dared to scribble on Achish's palace doors. Our sages, he wrote that Achish king owes me a million coins and his wife owes me 500,000. Others say he scratched the doors and ruined their finish. David also hung his mouth open so that his saliva drooled and was dripping constantly from his beard. Although the king's real name was Achish, David called him Avimelech because he appreciated the king's righteousness. Once the king was convinced that this was not the famous warrior David, he sent him free to go home unarmed. He was set free on Shabbat, and in commemoration of this, we recite the Mizmor on Shabbat. It's an incredible story. On a deeper level, the name of Avimelech refers to Hashem. Avi Melech, my father is the king. David teaches us that we must change our appearance and mannerisms on Shabbat. We dress differently, act differently, speak differently, and if we do this, Hashem will chase away the Satan. David did not conclude a pasuk that begins with the letter Vav, since the Mizmor refers to Shabbat, and Vav represents the 6 weekdays. To compensate for the missing pasuk, he added a verse at the end of the Mizmor, a verse beginning with the letter Peh. The letter Vav and Peh correspond to one another in the system of Atbash, right? When you switch the letters of the alphabet, is the 6th letter of the alphabet, when the Peh is the 6th letter backwards of the alphabet. The response of Palim offers another explanation for the correct connection between the Mizmor and Shabbat based on the Kabbalah. Vihi Noam. The last verse in Psalm 90 is Vihi Noam Hashem Eloheinu Yosenu. May the pleasantness of the God of our master rest upon us. So that's the end of 90. Ben Ishchai stated that this verse has a powerful, deep Kabbalistic significance. That's why a lot of people, they always start with Vihi Noam, right? Vihi Noam is always like a thing. And therefore, we must make sure, at least to think of its plain meaning when we recite it. Based on the Zohar, by saying this pasuk, we are admitting that Hashem is God. We are incapable of delving into the depths of the meaning and significance of the mitzvot before in the prayers that we recite. We ask Hashem to fill it for us and count our prayers and actions. We understand the deep concepts and have them in mind for the mitzvot and the prayers of the maximum influence in the heavens. In the prayer book attributed to Rabbi Shalom, Shalom Mizach Sharabi, so this is the Rashash, Rabbi Shalom, right, Sharabi, the pasuk is explained as follows. When we sin, the glow of holiness created by our precious mitzvot goes dark. By reciting this pasuk, we're bringing them out to glow again. Okay, the Ben Ishchai concluded that we should recite this pasuk before each mitzvah that we perform, and we should think of both of these interpretations. He added that some people recite the verse twice, one for each of these interpretations, and he commended this practice, especially since there are other reasons why to say it twice. In the Ish Matzliach version of Ben Ishchai, these words are given this interpretation. The words of this verse have such a deep meaning that we should recite this verse one time in preparation for reciting it the second time. Meaning you're doing it once just to say it the second time around. Okay, the Ben Ishchai seems to suggest that one should recite this verse twice, even when reciting these one on Shabbat morning. Despite this, we do not find any prayer book that actually does this, right? It is not even suggested in those prayers that will follow the Ben Ishchai's instructions. Apparently, the practice of reciting the verse twice, only reciting in preparation for performing a mitzvah. That means it was only when you're doing a mitzvah do you do it twice, right? This, like Chanukah, they say it twice. But other than that, they don't do it twice, okay? Fine, next. 145, the Ben Ishchai, pointed out the Mizmor 33, 34, composed of 22 verses each, corresponding to the 22 letters of the alphabet. Each Mizmor contains 161 words, and this is the number significant according to the Kabbalah. Moreover, God's name is included in Mizmor 33 13 times for the Yud Gimel Midot Rachamim, for the 13 attributes of mercy. Next, during Shachrit on the top, during Shachrit of each Yom Tov, the custom of all Sephardic communities to add the psalm designated for the particular Yom Tov between Psalm 91 and 98, right? So he says over here 146. The source is for this is the Ben Ish Chai. He admitted, however, that the custom of Yerushalayim Yeshiva Betel was not to add any Mizmor for the Yom Tov. The Zivchei Tzedek Hadashot states that the Baghdad congregation add the Mizmor, but the learned Kabbalists refrain from reciting it since it is not listed in the Oziel's teachings, right? He recommended all students of Kabbalah to follow suit, but to do so in a manner that no one notices, in order to make sure not to cause an argument over the issue. At any rate, nowadays the custom is universal to add the Mizmor of Yom Tov, and everyone should follow the accepted custom. By the way, you guys should know that our custom in Morocco, depends where in Morocco, there are different customs, but our custom was not to do it, and that's why we skip it out. We skip it out.
Now we're doing it.
No, we skip it out. Here in this Knesset, we skip it out. And that was the original minhag, right? That's what we skip it out. So that was what we do. We skip it out. And that's according to the Kabbalah. So it's actually something very, very interesting. And that's actually very interesting that if you realize our custom in this Knesset, this already started beforehand, right? This started from already, Rav Oziel already did it, but even before Rav Oziel, I'm saying there's a lot of them. But it was, the concept is that a lot of things we did al Pia Kabbalah, right, and not according to the custom, which means in certain Moroccan communities, they had like in the Sidur Avotenu, that in the middle of the Amidah, or in the middle of Chazarat HaShatz, you would do the Seder of the Kedusha. We do it beforehand. We do before the Uvchen Nagdishach Melech, and then we start Chazarat HaShatz. And then when we get to the place of the Chazarat HaShatz, we say, go to the page just for Kedusha. And then we go according to the Kabbalah. Also the Piyutim. You know, like Shinanim or Shinanim, Yederashim, na. All those things, right? There are a lot of Moroccan communities where they do it in the middle, meaning the middle of the right Nishmat. Boom, they started there. Our custom was always after the Chazarah, meaning after Kaddish Kabbalah, that's when we do it. Like the Dot Mizrach, that's Al Pia Kabbalah. So therefore, there were certain things that we do Al Pia Kabbalah. So again, it depends where you were in Morocco, depends certain places, but it was all depends on that, okay? Fine. Next, 29.
The Sfada doing the same.
29. Some communities have the custom to recite the Mizmor of Shamayim Misaperim Kivodel before Baruch Shamar on Chol HaMoed. That's what we do also as well, by the way. Okay? This is likewise the custom of Yerushalayim Yeshiva Betel. Again, according to the Kabbalah. Most communities do not recite it, but instead do Lamnaseah like every other weekday. Let's see 147. The Ben Ish Chai, right? And the Kav HaChaim Sofer say the custom in Yerushalayim Yeshiva Betel is to recite the Mizmor Shavim Misaperim and Chol HaMoed. The Ben Ish Chai added that this was not the custom in Baghdad, but rather to say Lamnaseah Binginot. Rabbi Yosef Chaim did not attempt to change the custom since there was no clear instructions for the Oziel HaKadosh regarding Chol HaMoed, only on Shabbat and Yom Tov. His personal practice was to recite both. And this is what he recommends for others as well. Our minhag, by the way, is that we're standing up, we say Hashem Elech. When we finish, we sit down. We say Lamnaseah, we say Hashamayim Misaperim Kivodel. Then we stand up for Baruch Shama. So we sit down and then stand up. That's the way that we do it. And that's what we do it here. Right? I don't remember about French Moroccan, but that's what we do it here. Okay? So here, but that's what we say.
We stand up.
You stand up, but you do Hashamayim Misaperim though.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do Mishamayim Misaperim, but you just stay standing. No, we sit down for Mishamayim Misaperim, and then we stand up again for the Baruch Shema. Some authorities recommend reciting the note along the community and then add the Mizmor Shamayim Misaperim, following the custom of the Mekubalim.